Today I want to talk about a metaphor for inner transformation, and that's actually a story you have probably heard about, and that's Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark is not just an ancient tale about a man and a float and some animals that went with him. It is actually a metaphor for inner transformation. When we think about it, Noah's Ark or the Ark becomes our psyche. The animals become our archetypes. The pairs become yin and yang, and the dove and the rainbow become signs of new consciousness emerging. So we are actually talking about the cycles that we have of change, death, and rebirth. In life, every transformation begins with a flood. Not an actual one, though it can be, but it is actually a crisis, a transition, a dissolving of old patterns, an identity shift. In symbolic language, water represents the subconscious mind. So what is actually happening is something subconscious in this flood is trying to be released. It's trying to come up to be released. So in the story, Noah builds an ark, but the ark is actually your inner structure, your core beliefs, your values, what you appreciate, what you think is important. It is your clarity, your confidence, your self-trust, and your ability to stay centered in the midst of chaos. And there's a beautiful part about the story. Noah doesn't steer the ark. It is actually a metaphor also for surrender. He steps into the ark, he brings everyone with him, and now we're going to talk about the archetypes. And then he lets go. So it is a story about surrender. Now, the ark doesn't carry just random animals. It carries each animal in a pair. And symbolically, each animal represents an archetype within you. For example, the lion is courage, strength, the dove is peace, purity, etc. These are not just random creatures that come, they are actually archetypes of your personality, archetypes of your psyche that you need for the next chapter of your life. But why two of each? Well, this is the part that is important. It represents the yin and yang. So each archetype has a masculine side, and I'm not referring about gender, it is more the concept of inner structure, of clarity, of being expressive, of being directional. And there's also a feminine side, and that is the part that is receptive, that is intuition, that is more inward, not so outward. And if you only bring one pole, the archetype becomes distorted, because the most important thing is balance. Because, for example, a lion with just yang becomes aggressive, and with just yin becomes passive. So you need the balance of the two poles. That's why you need the pairs. So the arc takes both pairs of the animal or of the archetype, so the archetype can be complete, not as genders, not as masculine and feminine, but as a symbol of balance, of energetic complements. So I see the message as follows. Bring both parts of your polarity, bring the masculine, bring the feminine side of every archetype in your psyche to the next chapter of your life. Because that way you can live in coherence, you can live in completeness, and you can live in balance. Because inside the arc, the pairs coexist. And that is what we call inner work. It is actually accepting both parts, the masculine and the feminine of every archetype. Because when we fully accept both, the part that we see as strength and the part that we see as weakness, the part that we see as soft and the part that we see as aggressive, then we can integrate them, and now they become balanced, they become whole. And many also call this shadow work, inner acceptance. So the point of this inner work is to hold your strength and your softness, your clarity and your intuition, your action, but also your surrender, and to have both polarities in balance. And the flood, well, the flood is where everything dissolves and where the new starts to emerge. It is when Noah sends the dove, and the dove returns with an olive branch. It is the new possibility. It is the clarity that you gain, the new perspective, and the open opportunities that you see ahead. So the storm has passed, the waters are receding, and you now see the opportunities opening up in your life. Now, when the ark finally reaches the earth, the rainbow appears, and that's what means the passing of the storm. The rainbow symbolizes integration, harmonizing the polarities and the beauty of the new life that emerges after the storm. So the story of Noah's Ark isn't about flood or a tragedy. It is a story of transformation. It is about building your ark or building your safe space in a critical situation or when something is changing. It is about releasing the old. It is about surrendering. And it is about integrating your polarities and stepping into the rainbow of your new beginning. So if you're in a transition right now, maybe you are creating your arc. Maybe the archetypes are starting to enter in. Maybe the float is coming, or maybe the dove you sent has already returned.